Hello again, and welcome back to video number 4. Some of you have, mainly one, you know who you are, have stated that you're having trouble following along. Don't be discouraged by this. It's perfectly normal. I felt overwhelmed as hell when I first started trying to figure this crap out and thought to myself, there's no way I'll ever figure this out. I mean, you think this is overwhelming? Wait until we get to the point where we're going to open up one of Valve's maps and see what they look like inside. It's fucking scary. There's a lot of shit. And it's extremely confusing, but once you start to learn what everything is and start to get a feel for things, it becomes second nature to you. It's really easy to navigate and understand how everything works. So, in this particular tutorial, we're going to be covering these tools up here at the top. Or some of them in particular. So I'm going to show you just a few now. I'm going to try out using this zoom feature I have here and see how that works. And you can tell me if it looks or ends up looking retarded. Alright, so basically this right here is going to turn your grid on and off, which you might be able to see over here in the corner a little bit. But basically that is turning your grid on and off. And I don't know why you'd want to turn it off, to be honest with you. Just leave it on, is probably best. Toggle your 3D grid will actually turn a grid onto your brush faces. Your brush faces, if you're trying to line up, brushes with each other, and you want to line them up more exact, you could toggle this on and use a sort of grid as a reference. I don't really use it though. So it's not really a big thing. This is important because this will increase or decrease your grid count. If you notice your grids in your left and right screen, if you hit decrease, the grids over here will get smaller. As you can see that they become much smaller, and as a result things will move a lot more quickly. I just move this screen over here. As you can see, this thing will move much more sharply now. Just looking at that corner there. I'm sorry, I'm not actually zooming in with you or helping you here. I'm trying to get the best quality I can out of this so you can see it more direct. Alright, these have to do with the order or something like that. You're stacking maps. I just don't mess with them. You can actually have multiple projects open in Hammer. Multiple maps. Right now we only have one, but you can open several maps and you can actually copy and paste things from each map into the other. So that's a nice feature of Hammer. Here we have our undo and redo tools, which, if you know, the shortcut is Control-Z. So you can undo or redo by also clicking here. And the next is an actual tool. It's called the Carve tool. Now, I'm going to zoom out here and show you exactly what the Carve tool does. So, first and foremost, you're going to, if you want to follow along and try this yourself, you can. I'm going to re-increase my grid size there, because I didn't mean to decrease it that much. No need to. I'm going to hold Shift key down. Alright, this is kind of an important hotkey. I can't remember if I mentioned this in the other video. I think I did. But if you hold the Shift key, you click on something with your selection tool enabled. Click on this, and then drag it. While holding the Shift key down, release the mouse button, the left mouse button, and you have cloned the object. So that's a quick, a much faster way to create more of something, rather than creating it from scratch. So I'm going to make a nice little square here, and I'm going to position him. See how the center isn't lining up, and that's just because it's not the proper size. There, now it's a perfect square. Line him right up there in the center. I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to extend him on my front view there. So now, if you look in my 3D view, using WASD and the arrow keys to move around, you can see I've created a nice little, almost square, boxy UFO kind of weird shape. Now the object of the Carve tool is to use a particular brush or this block here to carve a hole in this one. The Carve tool is generally evil. You probably shouldn't use it because it can screw things up. It can actually screw the brush face's alignment up with the grid. And then when you try to align things later, you'll realize they won't align to the grid properly, and it can really be a pain in the ass. What I'm doing here is pretty much a clean cut, so it's really not going to cause any problems. but trust me, it can create like extra tiny small brushes here and there to fill in gaps. It could just make a huge mess. So the carve tool is to be used sparingly. So right now with the block I want to use as my tool selected, I'm going to press the carve tool, which is up here. Let's zoom in one more time just in case. Close that out first. This button right here. I'm going to click on that, and when you zoom back out, you'll notice that this whole area here has now been divided into several units. Now I'm going to slide the centerpiece away, and as you can see in our 3D view, we have created a perfect hole. And this has been subdivided into 4 separate brushes instead of 1. Now the problem with that is that this was a very clean cut because it was all lined up to the grid, matched to the grid. It can cause issues, so you're going to want to be careful with that. Now here's what we're going to do. We're going to first take select this object, and you're going to notice that everything's selected, and you're going to hit ignore groups, alright, because these are the next tools we're going to mess with. So we're going to zoom in one more time up here. Don't mind that. The F9 unfortunately is my shortcut for compile, and as it is yours, so every time I press to zoom in, the compile comes up. Anyways, these next 3 tools have to do with grouping. Now, with those 4 things that we just created, they're automatically grouped. Okay, so this is called the ignore groups tool. Now, once I select that, I can click on this to group the selected objects. So if I have multiple selected objects, I can hold Control down and click on that block that we use as our tool and click group. Alright, now when I click on one, all of them are instantly selected, including our block that we used as a tool. Now if I click the break button or the ungroup selected groups, once I click on that, now they're all broken, or these 2 sections are broken individualized because that was added at a later date. Now if I break this group again one more time, now they're all individually or they're all individuals. So in order to regroup them, all you got to do is select all the things you want regrouped. I just want these here, and hit group. Now they're back. Once again, group. Now if you don't want to ungroup an object but you want to work on something individually, use ignore groups, this little thing here, and you can click on individuals that are in a group without actually clicking on them. Now you gotta be careful because some brush based entities, which I'll explain later on, can get a little fudged up by using this tool to click on them, because it only sees the brush, it doesn't actually see the entity when you choose ignore groups. I'll explain that when I get there. I hate being limited by 10-minute videos. Anyways, I'm going to cut this one short, and I'll come back to you guys later, and we'll finish these right here. These extra 2 and the rest of those, which are fairly simple, but we'll just finish that up, and then we'll work on creating our first room. Don't worry, I'll walk you through it step by step. I can't expect you to